had an opportunity at a very extended conversation on Wednesday with head coach Antonio Pierce. You'll hear that conversation in its entirety coming up on Thursday's edition of the Locked On Raiders podcast, February 29th, 2024.
Just win. Just win. Just win. Just win.
The autumn wind is a raider, pillaging just for fun. He'll knock you round and upside down and laugh when he's conquered and won. And won. And won. And won. And won.
And welcome here, Raider Nation, to another edition of the Locked On Raiders podcast. Thank you so much for making the show your first listen of the day. Make sure you subscribe or follow for free on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts to get the latest edition of the show as soon as it becomes available. As always, if you're checking us out on YouTube, we appreciate you. Show has grown in a major way. That's because of you and my man Ari. Ari does a great job each and every day making sure we're on YouTube, looking good, sounding good, doing what we're supposed to do, and we cannot thank him enough. On Twitter at Ari Produces. You can hit me up as well at your boy Q254. And normally, we got the Locked On Raider podcast voicemail line at 707-654-4693. But off top, I mentioned that we had a very extended conversation with head coach Antonio Pierce on Wednesday at the Conrad here in Indianapolis, the side of the scouting combine. Been here all week long, and I'll tell you right now, if I get nothing else from this week in Indianapolis, the conversation on Wednesday with AP was well worth it. So today's show, Antonio Pierce, Antonio Pierce, Antonio Pierce. Segment number 3, 2 and 1, 1, 2 and 3. It's just that simple. A lot of really good stuff from the quarterback to the running back, potential new quarterback, Jaden Daniels, defense, the coaching staff, Mark Davis. I mean, just everything and anything when it comes to the silver and black. Antonio Pierce talked about it on Wednesday. Really good conversation. We'll jump into part 1 of that conversation after I tell you about the title sponsor, which is FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 if your bet wins. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started today. And again, this is a very small room, local media only. Vinny Bonsignor, Hondo Carpenter, myself, Tashawn Reed, Levi Edwards from the Raiders, and of course, Vic Taver. And that's it. That was it. That is all. Just us 5 in the room talking with head coach Antonio Pierce. Really good conversation, about 25 or 26 minutes. So let's go ahead and start right now. Part 1 of the conversation. Vinny Bonsignor starting things off, just talking about hitting the ground running when it comes to the coaching staff and putting that together. Here's part 1 of the conversation with head coach Antonio Pierce.
The last time we talked to you, you said that it was just run. Is it still kind of been that way?
Yeah, it's still running. We put the staff together, finalized that last week. Just trying to pitch the combine. Look at the next great future Raiders. I think it's good that myself, Patrick Graham, Luke, Tim McMahon, all get a chance to come up here and be around the players as much as possible. Yeah, the workouts are going to take care of itself, but I think for us to really get to know the individuals, get to see them, speak to them, feel them, let them see us, ask them questions, and then hopefully repeat that process until we get to the draft.
What were your goals and objectives on putting together that first staff? And do you feel like how do you feel the process went? Do you feel like you guys were able to meet?
Yeah, it was a long process. I interviewed 11 offensive coordinators, 5 O-line coaches, 6 quarterback coaches. It was a lot of guys, man. It was a very thorough process. I had all the coaches in there as well. They were involved in the process because I wanted to make sure not just for me, but it fit all of us. I feel like we got a group of men that are well-rounded, have a lot of ideas. Some guys have done it at the highest level as far as being a head coach for multiple years. Some guys just get into the game. I think you got a mix of both former players. As you see, I think we got 7 on the staff. But then also you got some that you got some coaches that, when you look at them and you really, how does that match with what Luke is doing or what Patrick? Well, it might not match, but it's an idea. It's something that we were either studying, that we had talked about prior, and I said, you know what, let's pull from that system. And let's see. At the end of the day, we're going to still structure everything the way that, myself, Patrick, and Luke and McMahon sees it, but it's okay to have different ideas and think outside the box.
For you, how important was it, AP, to get people who would obviously respect your position as head coach, but weren't afraid to say, hey, I think we can look at other ways of doing things?
Yeah, no, that's one thing I look for. it's not a dictatorship. I don't run that kind of program, and that's not how we are. And I'm not worried about other people speaking up or voicing their opinion. I want that. I don't want yes sirs around me. I want people to tell me when I'm right, when I'm wrong, come up with different ideas. And I'm good enough in my own skin where I'm not worried about having former head coaches in there. That doesn't bother me. That actually, I don't even know how that's a negative. I think that's the total opposite. You know, when you have the opportunity to bring in people like a Marvin Lewis, a Joe Philbin, you know, to have Rob Ryan around, to have Coughlin still be on speed dial, that's invaluable. So for me, just putting that whole group together and then mixing them like we just talked about with other guys and coming up with the ideas and really problem solvers. Because there's going to be a lot of things that happen over the next, it's happening now at the Combine. Things that happen over the next couple weeks and months that I won't be prepared for and I won't know. And to get that heads up and get that in advance is really good for me.
There's a lot of different flavors of quarterbacks that are going to be in this Combine. Is there a particular style that fits with what the Raiders want to do in your mind?
I just want a leader. I want a guy that can lead, that wants to compete. I want a guy that's not afraid of a challenge, because this is a big challenge that we have in front of us, especially you got the world champs in our division again. You know what you got to deal with each and every year, as long as Patrick Mahomes in that division. And I want somebody that says, you know what, I want to go for that challenge, because that's the same way I look at it going against, you know, those other 3 head coaches in this division. And then somebody that just wants to really compete. I want to see that competitive spirit in our quarterback. A guy that, you know, when the game's on the line, you know, he wants the ball in different ways, either making the throws, doing it with his legs, or, you know, putting us in the right call. So those are the things I'm really looking for, those intangibles. I don't want to go with the unknown. I want to go with a proven winner and somebody that knows what it's like to grind and go through some adversity, because we're going to go through that.
Speaking of the Chiefs, in your mind, how close do you feel this team is to be able to beat them consistently?
Yeah, that's the key word, consistently. You can do it one time. You can be a one-hit wonder.
Mm-hmm.
I know that's what everybody expects us to do, but we're expecting to compete and try to build a team and a staff and a roster to do that. And again, it's going to start with, you know, to be honest, it's got to start with your defense, because you got to deal with the quarterback and the offensive coordinator and the head coach, who are very good, the best of the best, man. Going to go down as probably gold jackets. You know, let's call a spade. And how close are we? I don't have that answer today. Once the roster gets built and you see the staff work together, I think that's going to be the critical part about it. I think our mindset is there, though. I think we believe we can compete with them. We just got to go out there and do it.
When you say proven on quarterback, can you see that in a college quarterback in terms of the proven to deal with adversity and things like that? Can that come from a college quarterback, or is it more of a veteran guy?
Yeah, well, I think you want guys with a bunch of starts underneath their belt. You don't want a one-hit wonder. You don't want a guy that had a one-year success and say that's the guy. No, I think you want somebody that's been battle-tested, that, like I said, talked about it, has been through adversity, that's had challenges, that had to either have a competition battle. He wasn't just handed the keys day one. He's kind of went through that, because that's going to be a process here, whatever we do. You know what I mean? Don't care if we're bringing a veteran or not. Aiden's our starter. They're going to beat out Aiden. You know what I mean? That's the facts, and that's not coaching talk. Aiden did a hell of a job, man. And the thing about it, he hasn't blinked. With all this noise and all this stuff about the quarterback play, he just comes to work every day, works out, does his thing. It's beautiful to see.
Has the game changed at all, where now you look at young quarterbacks in the draft and you look at more in terms of impact as opposed to maybe long-term potential?
So you're talking about just strictly the draft?
Yeah.
Yeah. I would hope whoever we draft, that's the route we go. If that's who the starter becomes, you know. And if it, again, I'll go back, if it's Aiden or if it's somebody we draft or we bring in, you don't want to put a Band-Aid at that position. That's old, man. That's old. I think the Raiders, we've seen that enough in this organization. And I know we had Derek Carr here for a bunch of years, but, you know, before him and after him, it's been a bunch of one-stop guys. And I don't think any organization wants that. You want the face of your franchise to be the quarterback, to be that guy you can count on for the next 10 years.
You've been through this process kind of on the other side, going through, you know, pro days as a player and having to do these interviews. How unique of an experience to have to be on the other side now doing this as a coach? It's cool because I get to call their bluff. I know when they BSing me. So that's the best part of the interviews. We've been having a lot of fun with the guys in here because they're coming here guarded. We got this booklet that got thousands of information, all these things that we know about the player already. And it's cool to sit there and watch and see if they're going to tell the truth, be blunt and honest, or try to guard themselves.
And we've gotten both. You know, you got a guy that's been so blunt, like, okay, hold on, that's a little too much information. Didn't know all that, but then you got the other guy that's just like, nope, never did nothing wrong, nope. Like, come on, man. Like, Mr. Perfect. And it's cool to kind of see through that, and it's funny that once we have a little bit more dialogue throughout this process, they open up more and more. But, it's a very stressful time for these guys. Multiple interviews, you're on the clock, you hear horns buzzing, people yelling down the halls. It's really interesting to see who can stay focused, throughout this time period, and who takes it serious. You know what I mean? Because these guys get drafted, but that don't mean they'll all be good pros. You know what I mean? That's just one step of the process. So you look for the guys, like I said, they got that look in their eye, and you can really feel it. You can see the guys that's entitled, got NIL, which is an issue because they come in already kind of privileged in that sense, and they got money in the bank. Well, when I came to the league, I was broke. You know what I mean? So every little dollar I got, it meant something to me. These guys already got jewelry on and Louis Vuitton rocking his rolling already. So just looking for the right fit for us.
Sometimes you to get what you want, you gotta go get it and be aggressive in getting it. Would you be open to if you guys fall in love with one of those quarterbacks, going up and making it happen and giving up whatever it might take to make it happen? Yeah,
I'm sure that's something Telesco's already spoke about, but that's my personality, as you guys saw and witnessed. I'm a go-getter. But, obviously that's got to be a collective agreement.
So there was part one of the conversation with head coach Antonio Pierce at the Conrad in Indianapolis, aside of the scouting combine. And, just, again, a fun conversation. If I get nothing more the rest of the week, I'll be satisfied just with that conversation. But that was only part one. We still got part 2 and part 3 on the way. We'll do it next here on the Locked On Raiders podcast. Before we get to that, though, let me tell you about one of our title sponsors of the show, which is BetterHelp. Learn to make time for what makes you happy with BetterHelp. BetterHelp will make you a better you, and that's all that we could ever ask. It doesn't matter if you're thinking about something that's small or something that's large, something that's weighing on you heavily, or something that's just kind of stuck in your craw and you can't, shake it, and you want to shake it, and you want to talk to someone about it, and specifically talk to someone who is neutral, who does not have an agenda, who does not care one way or the other what you decide to do for their benefit. They want you to decide what to do for your benefit. That's where BetterHelp comes in. Sometimes you just need to have that person to talk to and bounce ideas off. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online. It's designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched up with a licensed therapist and switch therapists anytime for no additional charge. Learn to make time for what makes you happy with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/lockedon to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/lockedon. All right, Raider Nation, here we go. Segment number 2 of today's Locked On Raiders podcast in the whole Antonio Pierce conversation. Segment 1, 2, and 3, all AP, all day long on this February 29th. You get one extra day in the month, you're going to get one extra day of Antonio Pierce. That's what we're doing on today's show. Already heard from him in segment number 1. Segment number 2 starts off with Hondo Carpenter asking him just about staying him, not letting the head coaching position get too big, making his head too big. Here it is, part 2 of the conversation with Antonio Pierce from Wednesday.
You are a guy, a lot of guys get your job and they almost become corporate. You're who you are and nothing changes you. Does that go back to your mom, your grandma? Where does that come from in you?
Yeah, because when I leave this job, I'm going to be that guy I was before. This is a temporary seat. I'm not no fool. I got hired, I'm gonna get fired. But the one thing ain't gonna change about me is who I am. How I talk, how I walk, how I act. I don't mince my words. I don't bite my tongue. It is what it is. So, like it, love it. This is no different. I told Mark Davis day one, man, this is me. I don't know what else you guys want. I tell everybody, it's not a joke. It's not a gimmick. It's me. But, I think that's what people want to see. I walk through the halls, I see all these, head coaches and former players and scouts and coaches, and those are the same guys that either told me I couldn't do what I was going to do or had my back. And I keep receipts.
On offense, you can have the quarterback and weapons, but it's tough to have success unless you have the offensive line in place. Where do you feel like you guys need to improve with that unit moving forward?
Yeah, to me, how I like to build this team, I think me and Telesco see the same way. It's got to be built in the trenches, man. I get it. We can go get a skilled guy, we get a quarterback. Hell, nobody block for him. What does it matter? So really, I'd love to see us just really be really sound up front, man. I thought our offensive line the last part of the season did a hell of a job, man. I thought they got together, they battled. You had guys battling through injuries, and they didn't want to miss one snap, and they played for one another. But you want to have that consistent group each and every week, and then you want to have a core group of guys. Again, I was fortunate for the organization I played for that those guys played together for 7 years consecutively, and that was impressive to see. And when you look at teams across the league, I know it's hard with free agency, but you'd like to see that group, because that's the one position where you got the most players on the field at one time, right? Those 5 linemen. And most teams, when they have this, they're pretty damn good, regardless of who's at quarterback or running back, because they set the tone. And I think our guys really took pride in that. Colton Miller did a hell of a job. Jermaine, Mumford, Dylan. I mean, those guys, man, they battled their ass off. And I know it's free agency. You don't know who's going to come back and go, but whoever we put in those places, man, that's going to be the mindset. And the front, and then on defense, listen, you know we got some ends, and them boys showed up, right? You know what you're going to give them max. Malcolm Kuntz is coming to his own, and Tyreek will be just fine. But just how good would it look if you just put a couple more pieces in the middle of that defense, man? And now Max doesn't have to run so far on the outside because that quarterback, he can't step up no more. You know what I mean? Because you got the inside, he got pressure and force. So I think for us, and that's my main focus, is really just building this team inside out. And I'd love to see us get some badass dudes, man, that are heavy-handed, physical, that play the game the way that I see it being played.
Do you see Dylan as a guard long term, or does this look up in the air a little bit as far as where you might want to?
I think Dylan can play any of those positions. I think it's all going to come based off of what we do in free agency in the draft, to be honest. But you saw a kid that filled in center right away and did a hell of a job in those 2 games. Put him at guard, and I thought did a really good job of going against like the Chris Jones of the world. You know what I mean? Holding his own. You know, that's a tough matchup, but never blink, man. Never blink. So it's good when you have somebody that has that kind of position flex. It gives us a lot of options.
You called Josh Jacobs the heartbeat of the team. We asked Tom Telesco about bringing him back. He said, we want to prioritize bringing our guys back. How important is it to get JJ back?
I love it, man. 2-headed monster with him and White, watch out. Just watch out. Like that's, man, Josh, I have so much respect for Josh because the last 4 games he battled, he tried everything possible to play. Didn't work out, but he tried to the very last game, man, to play, and he had a lot on the line. And that was unselfish, I feel, to do that. And I really respect that and appreciate it. But at the end of the day, I know it's a business. I know he wants to get paid. I hope he gets paid as a Raider because I still believe that. Regardless if he's not here, man, he was one of my favorite players to watch, coach, and be around because of his mindset. He is an alpha. He is what you want at running back. You know, he is that guy that when he talks, people listen and you respect that. And you watch the style of play and it fits what we want to do.
You can't go into a year with one quarterback, so obviously you have to add some. But my question is, every time you talk, you bring up Aiden. You believe in Aiden, and I'm just curious, do you think some people overlook him?
Yeah, I mean, because it's easy, because this is a hell of a draft class. There's some really good free agents out there, too. But it's no different at the Minnesota game. Everybody thought I should bench Aiden or do something else. I stuck with Aiden. I said that day one. You remember I said, going forward, I'm going with Aiden. I don't go back because what everybody tells me to do or what they think I should do. You see the body of work each and every day. When you're around somebody, you understand them a little bit more than when people just see him, say, on Sunday or at an appearance. I'm watching a gentleman who knows that he has a lot to work on. And the first thing he did after the season was over was get his butt right back in the building. First thing he did when we got the staff was come right up there and introduce himself. That's a pro. That's a pro. And it would be disrespectful for me to talk about anybody else other than Aiden. But Aiden does know there's competition. Devontae Adams knows there is competition. Max Crosby knows there is competition. So if you're going to do it with the quarterback, you got to do it with everybody. And that's one thing about this team is that they're very competitive. They understand this next man up mentality. I get the stars and all that, but hell, we're a production-based business.
Tom Telesco mentioned yesterday that one of the things that's impressed him is how many of the guys are in the building every day. He says it talks about their commitment to their craft, but to their team. Could you talk about that, please?
It's shocking. I mean, we're talking anywhere from 17 to 25 players since after the Super Bowl, each and every day. And I don't know why, but they seem to like to be around the building a little bit more. You know, they seem to understand what they can do to get better and help us get better and win. And I said this probably in my last press conference. There's some meat on the bone. And guys felt like it's unfinished business. The season ended. and they wanted more. And that mindset is carried over into some of our core guys. And our main guy who's there every day, Max Crosby at 6 a.m., which he was there today, they're following his lead. And that's good to see, man. And like I said, it goes back to even Aiden. Those guys are leading by example. And whoever we bring in this bad boy, they got to follow the lead or they got to get out. And that's just how we're going to roll. But it's really impressive to see that they want to be around the building. Because I know how I was when I was a player. When the season's over, I was getting the hell out of Dodge. I want to get furthest away from the coaches and the facility. And I think we create a culture and a fit at the building where it's okay to hang out. You know, we're not going to step on your toes. I give them a wave, see them. I don't check in and see what they're doing. Listen, man, at the end of the day, we're going to see the results when we get out there in the spring. And more importantly, when we get to training camp.
As the coach of the Raiders, you have a pretty big microphone, and we saw what happened with the comments with the Patrick Mahomes rules. And when you see the reaction that some people may have taken that the wrong way, do you just kind of laugh because now people are actually keying in on everything that you say and what Antonio Pierce has to say?
I always heard good press, bad press, it's press. And if people want to talk about the Raiders in February, then we're doing something right. Even if they think it's wrong. They'll be right at some point.
You mentioned Tyree. I know Max said he's been very tough on Tyree. As a coach, you gotta love that. I'm sure it must be something kind of rewarding you for Tyree in the long run. It
is. It'd be good. You know, I know Tyree took some time. Think about it, he didn't have an off season. Had surgery, couldn't really work out. When we throw him in the fire, he's not quite there yet. You know what I mean? And came on very strong at the end. And we talked about it. He said, "Listen, I'm gonna take some time, go with my family," which I think he needs to. But the one thing I do know is that he's going to be back here early in March before we get started April 15th, and he's going to be with Max. And that's Max's number one job is to get and bring Tyree along. But that's also Tyree's job because we can want it, but Tyree got to want it as well. And I think he does because last year he got humbled. When you're the 7th pick overall and you don't have the year that he expected to have, and you hear all the outside noise, and he knows it wasn't good. Hell no, it was ugly. It wasn't pretty at the beginning, but that's okay. He worked on it, and you saw the improvement. And that's the one thing you can sit there and say, okay, there's a gleam, that little gleam of light that you think going forward that the light switch. And you never know when that's going to happen as a player, especially as a rookie, because they all come in, they're alphas, they got money, like he says, 15 AMs running and walking around. It's all good, but at the end of the day, it don't matter because if you don't produce on Sundays, nobody cares.
So there's AP right there, part 2 of the conversation, but we're not done yet. Like Marcus Peters said, we ain't done yet. No, still got segment number 3, part 3 on the way with Antonio Pierce. Again, 26 minutes of real good stuff that I thought helped really unpack a lot when it comes to the mindset of the Raiders and what to expect from this team moving forward, heading into the offseason. Obviously, the draft, they still got free agency and a whole lot more to start to put this team together for 2024. Part 3 of our conversation will come up next here on the Locked On Raiders podcast. Before we get to that, though, I do want to tell you about the title sponsor, which is FanDuel. Get buckets with your first bet on FanDuel. It's America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. It's $150 if your bet wins just like that. Bet on all your favorite NBA players and teams with quick bets, live same-game parlays, exclusive props, and a whole lot more. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and shoot your shot. FanDuel is the official sportsbook partner of the NBA. Here we go, Raider Nation. Segment number 3 of today's Locked On Raiders podcast. About to jump into part 3 of the conversation we had with Antonio Pierce on Wednesday. And this is the first time it's being played in its entirety. I just want you to know that, right? Got it on Wednesday afternoon. Thought about playing it on the radio show because I got it and had it prepared in time for the show and thought, you know what? I got Vinny Bonsignore rocking side by side with me, so I only played part 1. That's all I played on Raider Nation Radio 920 on Wednesday. I'll play the rest of it later on this afternoon on the show, but you're getting the full meal deal thing here first on the Locked On Raiders podcast. So with that being said, let's go ahead and jump into part 3 of the conversation. To Sean Reed starting things off talking about the quarterback position. Not the quarterback, but the cornerback position here on the Locked On Raiders podcast. Here we go.
One of the positions where you guys had the most movement last year was cornerback. Part of it was due to injury, performance, etc. How are you kind of viewing that position this offseason and potentially making some additions there?
Yeah, priority. I mean, I think you saw the addition of Jack Jones. Big time. Good for us. Confidence, swag, anticipation. Lifted the whole group. And the defense. Nate Hobbs, if we could just keep him on the field for 17 games, come on. Probably one of the best star nickels that you'll get out there because you can cover, he's physical, he can tackle, extremely competitive. I thought Amik did a good job. I know he's a free agent. We'll see how that plays out. And then you look at JB Bennett. We threw him in the fire early. Started as a rookie, 6-7 games, and then off and on after that with injuries. But his confidence came back at the end of the season. Didn't really get to show up on film, but we saw it in practice. Saw him the other day in the facility. Looks amazing. So you're right. Yeah, do we got to add pieces? Yeah, we got to add pieces. And the pieces we want are guys that want to compete. Short-term memory. We want the alphas, man. I want those guys out there that extremely confident. They got to be. They got to have short-term memory too now. They don't get popped. They don't get popped. But you want those guys, man, that just, I want that challenge. I want Tay every day in practice. You know what I mean? I want to go against Trey Tucker. I want Jacoby. I want to go against that guy every day to get better. I want those guys. I don't want guys that's coming in here to just put on the logo or the silver and black and say, I'm a Raider corner. Hell no. I want them to have that mindset that I'm going to be the best. And is that going to happen right away? No. But that group overall, with who we got in that room, is going to bring the best out of them.
Every team, every franchise is different every year. But Jack Jones talked on Twitter the other day about people wanting him to go out and recruit free agents. But he said, I believe in the guys in this locker room. I'm not going to go recruit anybody.
Yeah.
I mean, that's almost Antonio Pierce type swag, isn't it?
Yeah, man, listen, Jack is a loyal dude, man, as you guys have seen. A loyal player, loyal human being. And he loves his group. And like I said, when he came in, first and foremost, they put their arms around him. We need to love up Jack Jones. He had went through a little bit as well earlier in his career, and he felt that love for those guys. So as a player, with their brothers, you don't want to see them go anywhere else. And we don't either. But, it's a business, and you understand you're not going to be able to keep all your players because of financial situations. But to hear your guys, one, go to bat for coach, go to bat for one another, what does that tell you? Tight-knit group, man. And that's why when people ask me why I talk or do what I do is because I'm backed up by 53 dogs. 53 dudes that's ready to freaking go to war. Still, in February. So we just got to temper it down a little bit too, AP as well.
You're having a lot of firsts since you took a job, whether it's putting together a staff, combine, having your first OTAs. Like, how are you approaching that? Because you haven't done it before. Are you pulling from different places to trying to learn the best approach for it? You're just kind of filling it out as you go? Like, what's your overall?
Yeah, past experience, obviously. I'll go back to my playing days, what I liked as a player. Then you got to go to what's the CBA rules? What's new? Okay, what do you do now with all these different limitations that you have? And then also, there's a reason why you brought in Marvin Lewis and Joe Philbin. Okay, let's all sit at this table. Let's put pen and paper. Let's come up with some different ideas. Let's be creative as well. Let's try to mimic things that we can get better at come, say, August when we're in training camp, or that happen to us in the season, situational football, things of that nature. So there's a lot of stuff that's going through that process. I'm not going to mimic what we've done in the past because that's not what I was used to doing. And that's not a knock to anybody, but this is your first time, like you said, to put your stamp on it, and there's certain things I want to emphasize. And you just try to build that throughout the offseason. I think we're going to have great participation. So then you also got to reward the guys too. You got to be smart. We're not going to beat nobody in April, May, June, July. It's about just really, to me, just keep building this bad boy so tight where as people poke holes into it or try to poke holes into what we're doing, they can't do it.
Cornerbacks, like you were just talking about, when you evaluate this draft class, what do you think is potentially the deepest position group coming out?
It's a few, man. I think the corner group good, quarterbacks pretty good, O-line, interior D-line, pass rushers. I mean, to be interested, to be honest, you wish you had more picks. You're like, damn. But at the end, you got to be smart, and Telesco understands that, and he knows I am. Like, come on, man, can we get 4 more picks? But that's also what's good about free agency. That comes first, so we'll be able to plug some of those holes. But it's a very talented group. The gentlemen that we've interviewed have done an outstanding job in that process of really speaking. Tell us who they are, what they know. These guys are being coached up well now. I tell you, that's the biggest difference. Damn, they know everything that's about to be asked. Like they're sitting in our room and got all our questions. So that's cool. But I think the best part about it, just seeing these guys as eager that want to come out and really put on a show here at the Combine. And more importantly, we got some guys that say, man, I'm going to be a Raider. And I like hearing that walk through the hall. I hear more Raider chants than any other team.
One of those quarterbacks, you coached him at Arizona State, Jaden Daniels. He was there at the locker room after your last game of the season against the Broncos. What are your thoughts on Jaden, knowing him at Arizona State and then seeing what he did at LSU?
Impressive. I mean, I thought he could win the Heisman. That was my recruiting pitch. Man, he won the Heisman. Damn, he won the Heisman. That was cool. Then he called my name out. I said, that's even cooler. Man, just proud of him. When I was recruiting Jaden, 150 pounds wet, everybody like, what are you getting this little skinny dude from, San Bernardino? But I saw as a winner. Saw a guy that's really competitive. Always out to prove people wrong. Been doubted his whole life because of size or certain attributes about him, physically or mentally. And I think all he's done is prove people wrong. And it was good to watch him do it at the highest level of college football, the SEC, and dominate. It was impressive.
What was it like meeting with him? And read that you guys had met with him, now being the head coach of the Raiders, and he's a prospect that you never know how things might play out. But what was that like? It's
cool. It's cool going through the process. Like, it kind of reminds me of Jack Jones. I've known Jay since he was 14 years old, and I've known Jack since he was 13. We just watched them grow up to be young men, and obviously their number one goal is to be in the NFL. I just have to be fortunate to be the head coach of the Raiders, that there could be a possibility, but we'll have to see.
You mentioned the adversity that Jaden had to face before he became the Heisman Trophy winner. Did you see a little bit of yourself in him as well?
Yeah. I think every player that, if I have a chance to pick, is going to have a little bit of AP in them. Mm-hmm. That just makes sense.
Father's Day's coming.
Yeah.
And you get to now look down the hall and see your son on your staff. Can you step away from being a head coach for a minute and just talk about the pride you feel as a daddy?
Yeah, no, it's cool. Because the entire time I played, I couldn't be a dad the way I wanted to because I was playing. Never get to see his Pop Warner games. I miss dances. I miss taking him to school. I miss a lot of stuff. He knows that. I had him when I was young. I had him when I was 18 years old. So he grew up with me. You know what I mean? He was at the Pro Bowls. He was at the Super Bowls. And it's cool to see your son, one, reach his dreams. He went to college, have an opportunity in the NFL, had a tryout with the Raiders, obviously. Go to coaching. He went, Cal Poly, then he goes to TCU, Boise State. And then there's an opportunity. I got an opportunity to put him in a position where he has a coach. He's working at the bottom. Yeah, he ain't calling the plays. I ain't that dumb.
Yeah.
Well, he might. If he's doing that, then I'll be working for him. But no, man, it's honestly, and I haven't had that much time around him because we've been sticking and moving. But just to be around him again, just to get that bond, because at the end of the day, he's probably gonna get married soon. He has kids already, and he's being a father. And I'm watching that process. And it's like, damn, man, that's cool. And I'm trying to visualize myself. He's 26 years old. That's what I looked at, 26 with kids. Okay. And I'm trying to give him some words of advice, like, man, don't, and that's why I do with our staff, don't miss anything for your kids, man. That's why our day starts at 8 o'clock, take your kids to school. You get out at 4 o'clock, go pick your kids up from school. We're not playing football right now. I get it. I mean, we're supposed to work our tails off. This technology, man, get on Zoom. Get on that camera right there. We're looking at it, we work. But to have my son next to me is probably one of the biggest blessings I can have.
So there we go, Raider Nation. Part 3 of the conversation, the full meal deal thing when it comes to Antonio Pierce. Great stuff. Talks about family, talks about the cornerbacks, quarterbacks, right? Running backs, coaching staff, ownership, right? Raider Nation, everything. Talks about the people on the outside with the outside noise that are, talking bad about AP at this point. Everything. Thought that was really great stuff with the head coach on Wednesday. So hopefully you enjoyed that as much as I enjoyed just sitting there listening to what he has to say. We still got more, though. Don't you worry. The combine is not over. We got plenty more where that came from. Of course, we'll bring you some more news and notes as we get ready to close out the week really strong. Tomorrow, we'll get back to calls and texts, and we'll have plenty of conversation here, all things silver and black. So until tomorrow, Raider Nation, take care of yourself, take care of your family, love on your family. Most importantly, as always, just win, baby.